So, I just finished watching Season 2 of what was one of my favorite shows of 2023. I'm talking about Silo. And as you read by the title, a little bit disappointed. Yes, Silo was one of my favorite shows of a couple years ago. A show starring Rebecca Ferguson, who plays this girl, Juliet, who lives in this gigantic silo, this mysterious silo where nobody's allowed to live outside. They can't go outside. If they go outside, they die. And it's a big show that reminded me of stuff like Lost, where there's just a giant mystery surrounding every aspect of this world that the show takes place in. It feels like a discovery show, a show where the characters are constantly discovering and uncovering like a conspiracy. And I thought it was incredibly intriguing. I thought Rebecca Ferguson was absolutely incredible. Tim Robbins as like sort of this villainous character was so good. Common was amazing. It's a super entertaining show that led to a great finale and an awesome cliffhanger. So I was obviously super excited for Season 2, and I enjoyed it. But I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. Let's get into it, because there's going to be a whole review of the second season. Spoiler alert, mild spoilers for Season 1 and some stuff in Season 2 if you haven't watched it. I'm not going to go too in depth on like the Season 2 stuff. So if you haven't watched Season 2, you should be safe, but if you haven't watched Season 1, I'm going to spoil that shit for you. So Season 2 picks off exactly where Season 1 ended, with Juliet escaping the silo and not dying, becoming one of the first people to not die, and she makes her way to go to another silo, because it's revealed in that final shot of Season 1 that there's like a billion other silos, which was mind-blowing. So she goes and she ends up breaking into a silo that ends up being abandoned. Everybody that was in that silo is dead, and now she's stuck there. So that's going to be a storyline. Meanwhile, in our main silo, Tim Robbins, who's the mayor, is now having to deal with all the stuff that's happening with Juliet having survived. All the people said, she survived, that means it must be safe out there. Rebellion! So that's the other main arc of the season, and that's pretty much what the season's about. You have kind of these two main arcs that splinter into little arcs. You have Juliet at her silo, kind of experiencing and going through some different things, and you have the mayor, aka Tim Robbins, aka Bernard, kind of going through his stuff at the silo, kind of being the other sort of main character of the season, and kind of looking at this antagonist from a different line of sight. What is his actual role? What secrets does he know? And how is he going to prevent this sort of rebellion? So we follow these two different settings, and they all sort of come together by the end. Now, the issue with this season is not that those two separate stories are not interesting, because there are a lot of juicy things that happen in both of those settings. My main issue with the season is actually two things. The first thing, it takes a long time to get going. The pacing in this season is a little bit rough. There's a lot of episodes where things just aren't really happening, and you feel like you sit there for an hour's worth of TV to get maybe 5 minutes worth of actual usable and interesting information when it comes to the whole Silo universe. Now, at times, Season 1 could be like that. There were some episodes that moved a little slower, but the audience was so out of the know with what was going on in the universe, they had so few answers, that every little discovery made by Juliet in that season felt so huge. This season, the audience, we have a better idea of what's going on in this world. We have a better idea about the conspiracy, so it feels a little bit more of a bore when they're being so sporadic with how they give the audience new information. And that new information doesn't feel as hard-hitting as maybe that final shot of Season 1 where you see all the other silos, right? So because of that, it feels a little bit slower. And my second main issue is that I feel like the season doesn't really deliver on the promise of that cliffhanger of Season 1. That cliffhanger of Season 1, that big pullback shot, you see all these silos, the world expanding visually, metaphorically in the story. I feel like we don't really get that. Yes, we get Juliet in this season going to the other silo, and we get to see what other experiences, what other events could have happened in a different version of the same sort of civilization. And we get to meet some interesting characters along the way, like Solo, who's awesome, and there is a story there, but I feel like the world did not expand as much as I hoped to see in Season 2. I was hoping to see multiple silos and how the world and the silos interconnect and how the characters will all react to that knowledge. And that was what I was sort of interested in going into the season, and I feel like I didn't really get that. I feel like I got a more messy version of Season 1. There are some incredible things in this season, though. First off, in the first half, you get this great storyline between the main judge and Tim Robbins' character, and they have this whole arc that has a lot of mystery shrouded in it, but it is so brilliant, and where that arc leads to, although I wish it would have lasted longer and deeper into the season, it's only like the first couple episodes, is so strong. That character is amazing, and I absolutely loved it. I also love Juliet and Solo. It's pretty much what you get the whole season, is her and this one character, this mysterious character that's still in this silo, and all of their interactions are so fun. Discovering Solo, what this character is, who he is, where he's come from, is so interesting and fascinating. They were easily my favorite part of the season, and although, yes, the pacing with that storyline can be slow at times as well, I did really enjoy it, and Rebecca Ferguson is still, she's amazing. She's incredible in the show, and although at times her British accent comes out, Just want to point that out. I noticed it watching the finale. It comes out a lot in the season. She is still amazing and easily the star of the show. But this is Tim Robbins' season. Tim Robbins, who was a big part of that first season, but he was really that sort of mysterious antagonist in that first season. You felt like he was 10 steps ahead on the checkboard. He knows all these secrets that the audience doesn't get to know, and he's just sort of this evil mastermind. In this season, you get to see a different perspective of him. Although, yeah, he is this guy that sort of knows the next step, and he always feels like he's ahead. You definitely see the more human reality of him. You see the fact that he believes he is the good guy. He is in the right, and he's trying to do what's best for the silo, and to see him play out his game throughout the season and do the things he's doing and make the moves he's making and make the sacrifices he makes while knowing that he genuinely believes he's saving the silo, and where that story leads to in the finale, I thought was an extraordinarily strong character arc that Tim Robbins, who's obviously a phenomenal actor, really sells extremely well. He, to me, was the star of the season. His scenes and his arc, where it leads to, and how you bring in Avi Nash, who I've obviously loved from The Walking Dead, and I enjoyed him in the first season of the show, didn't get to see enough of him. I love how his character is brought back and included in this season, and how he goes with Tim Robbins and they do their thing. I thought it worked really, really well. And yet again, how it leads to the finale. A finale that I also thought was amazing. A finale that gave you some revelations and gave you a lot to look forward to in a season 3. A season 3 that I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping will either be a final season or be a season that definitely ramps things up and gives the audience what they want to see. Based on the ending of it, I think we're going to get a lot more information than we have in the previous 2 seasons. The world will literally expand. But where do my problems lie with the season? Because obviously the title of this video is that I was disappointed by it. Well, it mainly lies in everything else. Outside of Tim Robbins, Rebecca Ferguson, I've obviously touched on the pacing, but there's a big arc, this rebellion arc, that deals with a lot of the characters from season 1 that live in the bottom of the silo, a lot of Rebecca Ferguson's friends and family, and I gotta be honest, I had no interest in any of those characters, in any of those arcs. Every time they were on screen talking about what they're gonna do, their plans, whatever, it was a bore, because it's one of those situations where the audience is ahead of the characters. We know that their rebellion is stupid. We know that their plans and the things that they're doing are just going to end up with the silo being destroyed. How do we know this? Because of Rebecca Ferguson's arc. So because of that, it makes their arc frustrating to watch. You're not rooting for them, even though these characters are genuinely good people. Morally, they are sort of the good guys of the scenario, but you can never really grasp onto their arc or root for them because you know the inevitability of the outcome that they're heading towards is not good, and you don't want to see that. And you're also just not that interested in these characters because none of them are very strong, especially without Rebecca Ferguson. One of those characters being the sheriff. I feel like the sheriff this season was a very weak character. In season 1, I loved him just because of how he contrasts Rebecca Ferguson's character and how they sort of relate and get along in their scenes together. This season, you don't have that, so his whole arc just doesn't work for me. Same thing with Common. Common was an unbelievable character in the first season, being yet again sort of this antagonist, this badass dude who every time he's on screen, you really feel the threat of him, and he's another dude that you feel like is in the know on all of this mysterious information, and because of that, he's a little bit more dangerous. This season, he's a little bit more at odds with Tim Robbins and a lot of the stuff going on with the silo, and because of that, I just feel like his character took a little bit of a step back. He wasn't as interesting. I hope where they take him in season 3 is going to be a little bit better, and the finale kind of teased giving him a little bit of a better arc going into season 3. So overall, this is a season that does have some really good stuff in it. I was thoroughly entertained through all the episodes. It had some moments that were really amazing. I just feel like getting to the end of this season, I feel like I watched a 5-episode season of television that was stretched into 10 episodes, whereas in season 1, it felt like everything was methodical and meaningful, and you got everything. Every episode gave you little bits of information to keep you hooked in. It gave you great character work, and it built up to a perfect finale. This felt like every episode was very, very slow. You got really great moments mixed in, but a lot of nothingness, and then it built up to a great finale. And I just feel a little emptier than I did after season 1. Am I still excited for season 3? Yes, because I think they wrapped up the season in a great way. But am I a little bit disappointed that this was not like a 5 out of 5, one of the best seasons of television we've had in years? A little bit. But I will still give Silo Season 2 a 3.5 out of 5. I had a good time with this. It's just a little bit disappointing. What do you guys think of Silo? Let me know down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.